welcome to Anchor Network, where you get updated news of things happening around you. If this is your first time of visiting this channel, I would like and encourage you to subscribe so that you get updated news as soon as we publish them. Ahead of Wednesday's swearing in of President Muhammadu Buhari for a second term, the presidential spokesperson Garba Shehu in this interview unveils key things the president will do in his second term. There will be speedy trials, conviction for corruption cases. Nigeria should expect renewed vigor and greater commitment of the president to the implementation of his campaign promises. His second term will be a consolidation on the gains and successes recorded during his first term in office. Among other things, the Buhari administration has demonstrated a single-minded commitment to upgrading and developing Nigerians' transport, power and health infrastructure. You should expect this to get boost in the second term. The Ibadan-Lagos Standard Gauge Rail is being test-run and barring further delays, it should be delivered in the next quarter. Ibadan-Kano has been awarded. These two should be delivered within a reasonable time. The administration targets increased availability of power and targets have been set. The administration has doubled power generation capacity as we speak. It has increased generation to 8,100 megawatts and expanded transmission to more than 7,000 megawatt capacity, and is successfully deploying thousands of solar power systems to rural and urban households. The age-long fight between farmers and herders, which escalated in recent years, has largely been put down, and the combined efforts of the government now targets kidnapping, cattle rustling, and the senseless killings in the northwest. These two will be smashed. It's a matter of time. Garba Shehu was asked that despite all these claims, insecurity has ballooned in recent times, portraying the government in bad light. Why is this government failing in this direction? And he said, it depends on how you look at it. If your focus is only on the victims rather than lives saved and the successes recorded, you may think the government has failed. For example, Boko Haram terrorists have been significantly degraded militarily since the election of President Buhari in 2015. The Boko Haram terrorists can no longer invade and occupy any part of Nigerian territory without being expelled promptly by our military. The military capabilities of the Boko Haram militants have been so badly weakened that they now resort to video propaganda. Their primary objective is to establish their so-called caliphate on Nigeria territory, but the Buhari administration has frustrated such ambition. Previously, the Boko Haram terrorists were controlling 21 local governments, but today they no longer have the capacity to do so. Don't forget that in 2014, markets, bus stations and public roads were closed because of the Boko Haram activities. Today, however, all these markets and roads have reopened because of the remarkable improvements in security. The Buhari administration has re-equipped and re-motivated our military by boosting their will and capacity to face these security challenges. Supply of equipment is receiving significant priority under this administration. The welfare of our security personnel is also boosted remarkably. Again, another question was thrown at him that to some, the rising insecurity is because of the extension of the tenure of service chiefs. Why is the president retaining them? And he answered, he said, wise men say that you should not swap horses in the middle of the river. Is changing the service chiefs in the heat of the battle the answer? The president is well aware of the pressure to change the service chiefs, but as a general himself, he evaluates his options in terms of risk-benefit analysis. Security issues are more complex than they seem. The president is capable of assessing the service chiefs, and he does so fairly. If you take action because of the pressure or emotion, you may end up killing morale and scaring others from offering their services to the country. For the president to be hesitant to do something, he must have been convinced that the disadvantages of doing so are greater than perceived benefits. Another question, the district head of Daura, who is the president's in-law, is still in captivity 25 days after he was adopted. Is there any news regarding his whereabouts? And he said, the police are working round the clock to track down his abductors. In fact, the president has dispatched the chief of defense staff and IGP to Katsina to assess the security situation. The bandits are fleeing from Zamfara to other states because they are under pressure from our security forces, who are determined to smoke them out and crush them. I assure you that this will be history. It is a matter of time. Another question. The next level is being defined differently by different Nigerians. Some call it next level to poverty. What is the president's definition of it? And he answered, I have just given you a hint of what the next level is to the administration. Governance is a continuous process. You cannot complete your change agenda in one day or within your first term. There is wisdom behind the provision of second term for elected public officials. Given the complexity of governance and the intricate processes involved to get your programs off the ground, the second term could help the president focus on the full implementation of his change agenda. Regardless of what definitions other Nigerians choose for the next level campaign slogan, the president has a clear idea of what he was talking about. Implementation goes by stages. His second term is therefore critical in the full implementation of his campaign promises. In the second term, the president is not bothered about the cynical interpretations people are giving the next level campaign slogan. What is important is for him to focus on sustaining the previous achievement. Another question was thrown at Garba Shehu. What new strategies should Nigerians expect in the fight against corruption? Apart from consolidating the gains of the anti-corruption war, the president will collaborate with the National Assembly to ensure the passage of the anti-corruption courts bill into law. The bill for setting up social anti-corruption courts has been with the National Assembly since 2016. Speedy conviction is essential to the anti-corruption policy of the Buhari administration. The delay in the passage of the anti-corruption courts bill is frustrating. Our strategy will be focused on speedy trials and convictions. That is why the anti-corruption courts are important to the president. He will work for closer cooperation with the National Assembly to ensure the speedy passage of the several anti-corruption legislations that are pending. The Buhari administration has established for itself an anti-corruption reputation and has been in office nearing 4 years without a major scandal. The African Union has, on account of this, selected the president as the continent's anti-corruption champion. The Buhari administration can pat itself on the back for this achievement when it is viewed against the established culture in which corruption is the norm. To win the war against corruption and institute transparency in the affairs of government, the Buhari administration introduced a number of fiscal reforms and plugged several leakages, and Nigerians should expect more efforts in this direction. The next question, what kind of people should Nigerians expect in Buhari's new cabinet? And he answered, President Buhari's new cabinet will be packed with credible, incorruptible, and patriotic Nigerians who are motivated by selfless service. The era of perceiving government job as an opportunity to make billions at the expense of the voters is long gone. The president will select men and women who have the zeal to serve the country selflessly. His cabinet will represent all interests, including youth and women. Above all, patriotism and integrity are still important in determining his appointment. The next question. The president promised to expand his cabinet to accommodate more party faithful. Should Nigerians expect 42 ministers this time? Listen to what he said. The president will definitely accommodate more party faithful in line with his pledge, as he admitted publicly. People who made sacrifice should be recognized and rewarded. Politics is about patronage. Rewarding people who worked for your re-election is a legitimate expectation because it may go a long way to reduce acrimony and internal grumbles. However, I cannot give you a figure at this point about the number of people who will make up the president's new cabinet. He will surely consult widely before he announces the final list. This is a great interview from Garba Shehu, but there are some things I would like to address. The issue of insecurity. he talked about that the Boko Haram, they have really been defeated. The term they use is that they have been technically defeated. Truly, they might have been defeated in one way or the other. The challenge here is that people are still being killed. Whether they are not occupying some local governments or not, that is inconsequential. What is important and what the problem we have now is that they see that insecurity challenges. So coming out to say that they have defeated Boko Haram technically is not what we are after. And that is why people are always saying that they've not done anything. But once this government is quoting, they're always talking about they have defeated Boko Haram, that in 2014, the Boko Haram guys were really in control of some local governments. But now, there is nothing like that, which is true. But at the end of the day, are they still committing havoc? Are they still killing people? The answer is yes. So that means there's no job done. These guys have changed strategy, and that is why people are like telling the president that he has to change his service chiefs, so that we have a new people with new idea on how to tackle with these guys. For the fact that the president has a military background, is more knowledgeable, is more experienced when it comes to that, but it's not reflecting, because these bandits, as you may call them, or whether they are S-men, they've changed strategy, and that's where we have problem now. That one is one part. The second part he talked about, and I think that's where most of these politicians are borrowing from. They will say people that gave them numbers of votes, those are the people that are relevant. Some people are not relevant, and some people are not relevant, and which is a very bad thing. And I think they are really copying from the president, because even during his first tenure, it was like 95 to 5% or something, that you don't expect him to concentrate on people that just gave him 5% and leave those that have given him 95%, which is not really a patriotic response from a president. Because those that gave you 5%, they still contribute their quota in the system, irrespective of anything. Those that did not even vote for you, because they are still the one paying taxes to even fund your government, to fund your welfare. So what are we talking about? That a president will be saying he's going to concentrate more on those that gave him much votes. Because if you want to conclude in that manner, that means you would tell those ones that did not give you enough votes that they should stop paying taxes, because it's from their taxes that they are using to fund you, your social life, your whatever, your welfare, in total. Because these politicians, these leaders, everything they get is free. Name it. All the allowances, name it. So it is from the taxpayers' money. But for you now to say you are going to concentrate on people that gave you much votes, and that is what he's saying now. Of course, those that have worked, in the party should be rewarded. But it has to be inclusive. Whether people that are not from your party or people that are from your party, you have to be diplomatic, in relating with people. And that is why you see people, get angry easily that this government or this president talks as if, other people are not important. And that's why you see most politicians now, they will tell you some people are not relevant, some zones are not relevant, some whatever are not relevant, because of what the president has even said. Even in appointing his ministers, he said, a faithful loyal party will be looked into. Definitely they will be rewarded. So I think they need to do better in that area. He needs to do better in that area as well. And he talked about the infrastructure, Lagos Ibadan railway, and the Lagos Kaduna railway, I don't know, because I know the one in Abuja is really functioning. Kudos to them for that. But the one in Lagos, I don't know how effective it is. So I wouldn't want to go on and on. But I would like you guys to put down your comments with this interview, that Garba Shehu granted, and all that he talked about. If there's anything that you think, is not really right, or you still believe that but most of those things are still promises that have not really been fulfilled. And if you believe that, these promises or these things that the government or the presidency, have listed, if really they are going to go by it, or is it going to be one of those promises that they've made in the last 4 years. People are complaining that they just make promises and they don't fulfill them. In your own opinion, how are you going to score this government in this their first tenure? What is their scorecard? I would like you to put it down below in the comment section. Let's see their scorecard and let's see how they are going to move on. In this second term, what you think that we prepared or we give you people that will give people assurance that definitely this government will do better in the second term. Thank you very much for always listening. I appreciate you guys. Bye.